tops understood body anatomy, spinal
Mhm.
structure, how to deal with them. So a better trained person, in theory, uses less force. It's the people who do not know how to protect themselves that are going for their guns.
All right, all right, all right. Good afternoon, everyone, and fans of Into the Dojo. My name is David Cobb, and welcome to the first episode of season 2. It's going to be really awesome. And as you guys can see, we have a wonderful guest who's going to be joining us today, a very well-known guest. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that we understand. Remember, this, for those of you who are just joining in and watching, Into the Dojo is where we talk strictly about martial arts and leave the politics at the door. I mean, we try to make sure we focus strictly on the martial arts, the understanding of the concept, the lifestyles, and all those wonderful things that you all watch this show for. So as I said, we're going to have a wonderful guest for you today. As you can see, just to give you guys a few stats on who we have here. We have Sifu Dominick Izzo. He is a qualified Wing Chun instructor with 20 plus years of martial arts experience. He's very well known and, as I feel, one of the most no-nonsense critics of Wing Chun out there today. He's a 16-year veteran law enforcement officer and I believe it's a police defensive tactics instructor. Correct, sir?
Correct. Use of force expert. Yeah.
Wonderful. As well as he's a public speaker, an author, national radio host, award-winning media liaison with a goal of uniting his community. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I give you Sifu Dominick Izzo. Dominick, how are you doing today?
I appreciate that info. Thank you.
It's all right. I try to do my research, try to make sure, when we have these things, I want to make sure that the public knows exactly who we're speaking to. So, they just can't pull up, oh, this person doesn't know anything, but you were very fantastic and awesome following on YouTube. I've been following your videos. God, it seems like I'd say at least almost a decade for me. I've been following ever since the, I forgot what the video was. It was, the most hated Wing Chun video on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'm shocked. Can we use colorful language on your show?
Yeah, we're fine. We'll be able to put an advisory.
I'm surprised you didn't say the asshole of Wing Chun is joining me today. Everyone, I know who he is. That would have summed it up right there.
Oh, well, I try to, just keep it pretty formal. And then as we get into the conversation, everybody kind of gets to understand the type of people that we're dealing with. But thank you very much for being able to sit down with us today.
This is great.
Yeah, honestly, the team, when I told the team that I managed to get you onto the show, they were like, "Wait, really?" So it was really fantastic, mostly because for me specifically, as I said, I've been following a lot of your videos. I'm a Wing Chun practitioner myself, or at least my foundation is in Wing Chun. A lot of my practice comes from examples from Wan Shun Lung's lineage.
Oh, yeah.
So
a
lot of the,
as far as I'm concerned, the best lineage, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've always seen it as the lineage that produces fighters. Yeah. That's my opinion. Everybody else, you have your own opinion on which Wing Chun lineage you feel is the best. But for me, the examples and concepts of Wan Shun Lung's lineage is what has been driving a lot of my Wing Chun practice. I've been able to parlay it into Sanda and all the other arts that I've practiced, and just being able to find videos like yours on YouTube that break down Wing Chun in a very practical way. It really helps to open my eyes to new ways to apply the art. As far as my own personal practice, and plus, it's just an honor to be able to actually to meet you after following all your videos for so long, sir. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So just for our viewers' sake, just to get them to understand a little bit more about yourself outside of the stats that I've listed at the top of the show, just tell our viewers a little bit about who you are and what drew you to your Wing Chun practice.
Yeah, so we're saying a martial arts background. I'm a guy from the Chicago area. A relatively exciting childhood. I mean, it was great. I became a wrestler at the age of 12. My mother made me choose a sport because I was so introverted. So I'm because I'm a small kid, and I'm not the tallest guy in the world. I'm 5'7" as a grown man. And my mother said, she's like, pick a sport. And I'm like, all right. I knew that baseball I was too short and uncoordinated for. Basketball, I actually had an injury in trying out for basketball.
Oh, wow.
Where it was grammar school. I shot or somebody shot the ball, hit the rim. I went for the rebound. I come down at the rebound, and I'm looking, and the entire gym is like pointing at me, and they're all yelling. I can't hear anything. and I go like this, and my hand is all red. The rim fell down and cracked my head open. And I'm like, okay, so basketball's out. And football, I just didn't have any passion for football. So I said, all right, I'm going to pick the toughest sport out there because she's going to say no and she'll leave me alone. So I said, yeah, I want to wrestle. She goes, okay. Sign me up for wrestling. And I went to my first wrestling camp. I went to a week-long wrestling camp in summer. So it's, anybody who's ever been a wrestler, there's no air conditioning in the gym. It's a Midwest Chicago, just humid day. And I remember learning what a double leg takedown was in practice. And my first exposure to the way the coaching used to be done was I shoot in for a double leg takedown. This is day one, right? We're doing drills. Now it's partner drills. And as I shoot in for a double leg takedown, my hair starts burning. Well, that's because the coach, and I'll never forget his name, Coach Cruz, he grabbed me by my hair. He yanked my head up and he screamed at the top of his lungs, "Pick your head up, you effing commie pinko fag." I knew what a commie was. I didn't know what a pinko was. I knew what a fag was. I was like, okay. Then I'm repeating verbatim, but I was like, I never was exposed to that type of intensity before in any kind of coaching. So honestly, that's what got me addicted to it. And it was kind of like the gluttony to a degree, right? I'm going, okay, this is insane. I kept going back. Instantly fell in love with wrestling because of how intense the sport was. Spent my entire time wrestling. I was a decent wrestler. I finished high school at 135 was my weight class. 34 and like 10, I think I was my senior year. And then when I went on into the rest of my adult life, I tried to wrestle a little bit in college, dropped out, but I wanted to keep training. So I was looking for martial arts. And back then in the 90s, Jeff Speakman was huge with Kempo Karate. And Jeff Speakman was from Arlington Heights, Illinois. And that was 2 towns over from where I was. So I'm looking all over for places to train. And I'm 20, 25 minutes outside of Chicago. I never really went to the city. So in the suburbs, there wasn't a lot of places out there. Couldn't find a lot of places. Tried Shotokan Karate for about 2 years. And I'm like, nothing matched wrestling for me. Nothing did. I got into the nightclub industry. I was a bartender, but we got into fights all the time. Wrestling was just how it was. I love to lift weights. And then I one of the guys that I was working with at one of the restaurants I was with started like screwing around with me, right? He would just throw punches, this and that stuff. We would slap boxes. We would drive past by. One day he just takes me aside. This was 1998. And he starts doing back fist drills with me. And I'm like, what is this stuff? And he goes, this is Wing Chun. And he was learning from his cousin. So after work, we would start doing Wing Chun a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I like this. I like this a lot. Fast forward. I found my first formal teacher, immediately fell in love with the art. And I went, this is what I've been looking for forever. So I had wrestling background, a little bit of Shotokan Karate.
Right.
I did box. I did 3 smoker events when I was a cop, which I'm 1 and 2. And we were wearing those big 18-ounce gloves and headgear you can't see out of. And Wing Chun helped me with that, which was great. And then I just literally fell in love with Wing Chun. So from 1998 until still going now, I did take a 5-year layoff the last 5. But understood. Yeah, I've been in love with Wing Chun ever since.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you got a very it ended up being a bridge to a lot, it sounds like, within your practice. So that's pretty good. So I mean, that kind of covers the first question. What does Wing Chun, I guess if you want to expand a little bit more, what does Wing Chun mean to you?
It's like everything else. It's a system for fighting. If you say, what is Wing Chun? I'm going to say it's a system for fighting. That's all it is. I'm not going to go in the philosophical sense. Does it have philosophical aspects? Of course it does. When I first started learning Wing Chun, my first teacher had like these lists of concepts. And I remember some of them was like, kill the master and attack the attack. And it was like, all right. And like, what I loved about Wing Chun was the applications of the philosophical of, all right, the more tense you are in Wing Chun, we know that the less you feel somebody's energy coming in.
Right.
And I used to equate that to, man, how many times have I gone to a domestic as a cop and I'm so focused on the guy, on the woman yelling, right? That, oh, I didn't see that big dog that's sneaking up next to me because I got tunnel vision.
Right. So, the adrenaline starts pumping, right?
You learn to come in and relax and you absorb more information. So there's life lessons in any martial art. I don't care if it's Taekwondo. I don't care if it's what Kung Fu it is. There's always life lessons in martial arts. But specifically, somebody says, what's Wing Chun? You know, at this point, I'm like, touch me and I'll teach you what Wing Chun is. It's a system for fighting. That's it.
The old school way of being able to. I think I actually saw a guy with a t-shirt. It was a different style though. It's like, do you want to learn more about insert style here? You know, touch me, lay one hand on me, and I'll teach you. Your first lesson is free, or something like that.
Wing Chun has always been touch me and your first lessons for free.
Interesting. So I guess like now, as you obviously have seen in like the past almost, I'd say, decade at this point, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Wing Chun has definitely really risen up in popularity in like a lot of the movies and of course the Ip Man series that came out. A lot of people were introduced to Wing Chun through that didn't really know about it. And what would you say, I guess, as an instructor, what would you say that is the effect of that mainstream fame on the idea of what Wing Chun is, as opposed to what it actually is in practice?
I don't think it did have one. We were so excited when the Ip Man movies came out, Grandmaster, and actually, even though it was, I think it was Seal at the time, the Raid and Raid Redemption. Did you see those movies?
Yeah, of course.
We're like, there's going to be a Wing Chun school on every corner, and we're going to have students. And I really don't think it had the impact it did because of all the. And again, I mean, it's never disrespect. So if I'm saying something, I put my money where my mouth is over the years. But it's just it's the goofballs teaching it. So many people teach it so badly for this its inception that we're just never going to be taken seriously. And I think it's just I think it's like I'm a professional network marketer, and so many people, it's the pyramid scam. The amount of work that we have to undo for the decades and decades and decades of damage in the industry. Same thing with Wing Chun, right? So it's the amount of work that we have to do because we just eat our own within there. So those movies we thought were going to help, and I haven't seen any real impression or improvement other than the fact that just thanks to the advent of social media, now everybody's an expert in the art.
Like when I was saying here, thinking to myself, like, the movies, I mean, the movies are cool. Like, I'm a fan of the movies. Everybody, you know, Donnie Yen's been doing a pretty good job, you know, with the series and everything. A lot of the actors who've been taking on, but it's like it with these things being so popular in the mainstream, there's gotta be, I guess, those myths and those things that tend to pop up. Like, have you noticed a lot of those things becoming more prevalent with people who want to learn? Or would you say, like, I mean, you said that it was it didn't have the effect that it was supposed to, but would you say, like, there's still ways that those myths that people might have about traditional martial arts would affect that in a way?
Oh, yeah, we saw a couple UFC guys who were traditional. I cannot remember his name. I could picture him very clearly. Who is a karate, hardstyle karate UFC champions we've seen. And the industry of MMA is always it took over. You're not going to get people who wind up and here's the detriment, right? I was thinking about this earlier today. It's like I'm back on YouTube teaching, and I don't look the same. I'm older, I'm grayer, I'm bigger. I obviously love carbohydrates, and people are all like, well, dude, you got muscle, and then you're heavier. It's gonna slow down. I think that, like MMA, where you have weight classes, you have in shape fighters. For some strange reason, the Wing Chun community thinks that Wing Chun is only applicable for a certain type of body type, which is you're non-weightlifter.
Thank you.
You have to be in shape. And it's like, so you're basically saying that this martial art, because I'm now 10 years older, I'm 47, I'm not 37, and I'm 225. My shoulders are wide, my back is tight. I'm out of breath easily doing chain punches. So you're saying that Wing Chun doesn't work because I'm not a 5'5", 110-pound guy from China. So the art doesn't work. So number one, we're discrediting ourselves really bad. I think that if you go back to the cinematic aspect too, Robert Downey Jr., he's from the William Chung lineage. And I don't like that lineage at all, but we thought that, man, this would catapult Wing Chun. Again, we're not taken seriously because we're not putting out good content.
Right.
And the always base litmus test for this generation is, well, let's see it working in sparring. UFC. Okay. Because apparently that's the only, if you're not a UFC fighter, nothing can ever be taken seriously. And if you don't spar, can't be taken seriously. Right. And if you don't spar and not get hit, if you get hit during sparring, it doesn't work. That's how today's Wing Chun people are stupid.
And it's great that you brought that up, because I've run into, in the time that, like, I in college, I had some friends who I would practice like variant of martial arts with, but one of the Wing Chun guys that I practiced with, he would usually get on me about, like, Wing Chun is supposed to be, like, traditionally it's a softer art. It's not supposed to be used for, like, I guess what people would assume is harder styles, like karate or like Muay Thai or something like that. Would you say that that tradition is a detriment to Wing Chun's evolution in modern day?
I'm going to tell you my theory. I know that it seems like when Westerners try to take over something, they destroy beauty and culture. I honestly think, and I'm not kidding, I think that the original guys from southern China who were under Ip Man and the other lineages, I think they taught people wrong on purpose.
Really?
Oh, think they didn't want their customs and their cultures being just bastardized by Westerners. Everybody refers back to the three Ip Man videos.
Mm-hmm.
Got back when he's 72 years old, he's 2 weeks away from dying from cancer, and it is the gospel truth. If you don't do your form the way that Ip Man did right before he died, you're wrong. So we're taking into consideration a frail skeleton of a man who was videoed, who probably was out of breath every time he did a movement. People aren't thinking about this stuff. That's what it's supposed to be.
Cultural context.
Right. So I think that, and I'll go off on tangents all the way on this. I'm sorry.
It's perfectly fine.
I think that's one of the biggest aspects is I think that we may have been taught wrong. If you look at one of the guys who's actually, I think his content's about 7-8 years old now, Klaus Brand is, he wears the same type of attire that the Lung Ting lineage did. And it comes back to fighters. I do believe that Lung Ting and the Keith Kernspet era, Kernspet, Eamon Bostepi, Norbert Mayday, or is it Mayday Norbert, whatever his name is, Sifu Sergio's from that lineage,
right,
and then went off and just, dude, he launched himself to a whole different level. Those guys are fighters. So again, I didn't, and their aspect too was on different levels, and I can get to them later on. But Klaus Brand, dude, his movements are they are hard. They he hits you, they will, and he talks about it, and he's right. I've been in fights. I've been in
right.
You tense up. You cannot relax by once your adrenaline starts pumping. You can't relax because you're not in control of your autonomic system.
It's moving in its own way for defensive purposes. Right.
It's impossible to do it. So no, I honestly think that that's such a load of garbage. Staying relaxed. I think it's trying to keep your mind calm. But if you're not in that fight or flight system, because here's the other problem. The other problem is when you're in a relaxed, like I need to be relaxed, it automatically puts you in a position of welcoming in that energy, right? Soft, because you can't.
Right.
You can't be soft. Literally, your muscles. If I push in the air like this as hard as I can, my muscles will not engage. If I push against a wall, my muscles engaged. So by definition, I can't be soft unless energy's coming in. That being said, what does that do? If I'm standing squared off with you and I'm thinking, be soft, be relaxed, and that, I have to wait for you.
You need to attack, right? There's no aggression.
And then I'm a beater 10 behind the movements. And then that's where, like the argument the other day online when I was talking about Pak-Sao, where you could if you're Pak-Sao, you're thinking about defending it, you're done. You don't know Wing Chun and you're not going to survive the fight. So I think that the soft mentality argument has done a big damage to Wing Chun. I really do.
And for me, I've always been like the questioning that a lot with my practice. Like I've skipped around a lot. Like currently, like my current style, the way that I fight, it's like a hybridization of like boxing, Wing Chun, some Okinawan karate here and there. And it's just like, I guess the ideas of like when I tell people like, oh yeah, I practice Wing Chun, that's my foundation, and they're like, oh well, how are you able to maintain the traditions through practicing karate, and how are you balancing that with like kickboxing and sanda? Like, isn't it supposed to be a soft? And it's like, in my own opinion, I felt that Wing Chun it can be its own style, but it can be a bridge to to build into other arts, and like kind of like that midway point. At least that's how I've always felt.
That's your journey, and that's true. That's true. The biggest argument that I have with Wing Chun is it's a range. right? And there's the concepts of like there's 5 ranges in fighting: kicking range, then punching range, then kneeing range, elbow range, trapping or grappling range, right? Contact range. You get no matter where you're at, your contact range. And the biggest detriment or argument with why Wing Chun fails so much is most people can't bridge the gap because they're looking to defend. They're looking to get in there. And I used to say all the time, take the punch. Take the punch. You know, there's 3 stages every attack: infancy, adolescence, and adult. You don't want to get hit by a full adult punch. So you're going to wind up going in and bridging that gap. But again, too, you know, environment. Not every contest is a controlled sparring dojo contest or an MMA contest where it's equal size, equal weight, referee, and all that space. You know, well, Wing Chun only works good if you're in the bathroom. Well, then close the gap. If you're in a bar, you're in a Home Depot, somebody's pissing up, close the gap. What's wrong with you? So that's I have such an argument or such a problem with these arguments about how will and will not work. It's because people they're looking for a different solution. And then and honestly, if people go back to the forums, the answers are all there. But it's just in my opinion, you know, like I said, I do think that one of the biggest things that ever hurt Wing Chun to leaving was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because people saw Wing Chun. They were so screwed up on their footwork, so messed. They just focused solely on their hands that when they saw, hey, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works. Well, it works because you solved the #1 problem in all fighting: balance. Because you're on the ground. You eliminate balance. I truly think that if people start with a grappling background, contact is bridged, you're learning how to take incoming force and pressure, and then find your balance, and then you go into a stand-up art, it'll change everything. That's why I honestly have so much confidence in my Wing Chun. It's because I came from years and years and years of wrestling. And so when contact was made, I'm like, oh, my body already knows how to take pressure. Most of these guys online you see now, they do not know how to take pressure. And it's evident when everybody says, oh, it's a 60-40 weight distribution. It's a 70-30 weight distribution.
I was going to ask because I saw the video on the footwork. So I was like, what? So since we're naturally going that way, what is your opinion on like the differences between the footwork? And as a follow-up question, I guess, with the changes of the footwork, does that invalidate the art, I guess, when used in a real life situation?
No. You walk, and walking is nothing more than a controlled series of falling forward. That's it. When you walk, your head is over your hips, which is over your feet. You stand in a 50-50 balance. That's how it is. And your feet are at a position to take the weight and pressure going down. Like just like a tripod or a pyramid, right? Pyramid is the strongest structure known to man.
Correct.
Put the pressure on the top and the pyramid. Well, if you had a pyramid that's like 70% here and 30% here, it would collapse down. So I don't know why we're trying to change that. With the Lung Ting's lineage does the 70-30 split. And my first Sifu taught us that. And you'd see that like your axis moves because your axis is over. Then you got 2 feet. And when you turn and shift, you got to shift your axis. And it's meant for training. It's just meant to develop back leg, rear leg power. So if you're in a contact stage, the person's pressure that you're making contact with dictates which foot is your rear leg. And in order to fall forward, all you need is a transference of 1% energy, which means 50-50. Okay, now 51-49, I can move forward, I can move back. So yes, it's 50-50. It's never going to be 70-30. Not to mention the fact there are people like me who I'm flat-footed and I have an instep.
Right.
So if you put all that weight in your heels, like they say to do, or if you do like a boxer stance and you put all the weight in your toe, you're changing your center of gravity.
Right. It's going to throw it off a little bit.
And recovery. Because Wing Chun, one of the best things about Wing Chun that other arts do is you step, plant, drag, and you're ready to explode another shot. It minimizes the time where your next power comes out, your next attack comes out.
Right.
You can't do that if your weight is on your toe on the back leg. And you can't do that if your heel has all the weight, because if somebody pushes you in and you're on your toe, you're going to rock back on your heel and then you're going to adjust again. If somebody pulls you forward and you're on your heel, you're going to come on.
Going to adjust and change. Right.
These are always minimal self-perfection things people have to study, and why that the Chi-Sao game is great. I really think it's great, but Chi-Sao with pressure and feeling it coming into your body, that's essential. So that's why everybody wants to get to sparring. They want to get to this, but they don't understand themselves. And they focused on their upper body, Tan Sao, Gan Sao, Pak Sao, and they have no idea what they're doing.
So, like speaking of going into the whole the argument of Chi Sao versus not, like I've heard some people say that or question what is the real use outside of like, you know, learning how to get the sensitivity and such. What is the real use of Wing Chun from like a modern perspective? Like I guess with you know how we see the forms in the movies, and a lot of people tend to take those forms like specifically literally, like how you were saying with the weight distribution in the feet. A lot of people take those forms and think it's literally supposed to be done like that, and it's not supposed to change. Would you say that Chi Sao kind of feeds into that leaving that gap as far as how you train, or does Chi Sao really, as you said, it's essential? Like in what way is Chi Sao essential, I guess, when you're trying to apply Wing Chun to modern day?
First thing, the forms, and I've always argued this one, is people like, Fuk Sao is like this, right? It's got to be like this. And then I'm like, well, then why does, oh God, what's his name from Wangsha, from your lineage, Philip Bayer? He doesn't.
Okay.
He doesn't have a hand. So
yeah, how would that work?
So, and the other aspect is too, again, this goes back to body type, right? So if you're a 300-pound guy, you want to learn Wing Chun, well, you can't get your elbow on center. Oh, nope, you don't do Wing Chun. Wing Chun, the forms trainings is energy development. It's body awareness. It's personal perfection. But the way I tell people this too is when you go to learn to drive a car, you know, when drivers had to pass the course, your hand's got to be at 10 of 2. Look at this, the turn signal, or look at the mirror every 7 seconds, turn signal 100 feet before turn, this and that. But, you know, you've been driving for years. You're going to be on the tollway, you know, texting, eating a sandwich, driving with your knee and swerving, avoiding potholes.
Right.
You've become one with the car. So if Tan Sao in the form is perfect, well, if you throw a hook punch to my head, you're getting in. Tan Sao becomes something more dynamic. You just learn to use it that. Chi Sao, number one, Chi Sao, it's unbelievably fun. It is the funnest stuff on the planet. It's great for guys and gals who are older, if you want, to a degree. I love wrestling. No way in hell am I going to wrestle anymore because A, I'll get my ass kicked by the younger generation. B, it's exhausting, right? But you can get in a controlled environment with Chi Sao and have a lot of fun. It's like chess. It's great. I will say this. If you remove, again, sparring, and if you remove the controlled environment, MMA, number one, 99% of us will never get into a fight. Right. And the older you get, you want to avoid them. Number two, how are fights going to develop? Your words and distance closing. Somebody grabs and says, listen, blah, blah, blah. And it's mostly posturing, right? Somebody's going to back down. You're already in that grappling range. You're already in that Wing Chun range, right? And somebody grabs your wrist, the lapel of your shirt. Yeah, that's why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is fantastic, and why I don't see more people don't understand the concept of how Wing Chun and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu live together. It's you're already in that distance and game. And I tell people all the time, Chi Sao is great because what happens is you start learning Chi Sao, then you're going to go home and talk to your friends and family, and your uncle's going to come over. You haven't seen your uncle for a while, and you shake his hand, and immediately you shake his hand. You're going to be like, oh, dude, I know where your center of gravity is. I can feel where your balance is. Or somebody puts their hand on your shoulder. How are you? And you're like, oh, I know where my attacks are. Chi Sao, it subconsciously develops your fighting skills in a system better than anything else because to a degree it's unrehearsed. In boxing, what do you got? You got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combination, right? And you're gonna throw those in, this and that, you adapt it into the dance with somebody else. It's sweet science. Well, outside of the openings for Wing Chun, because we all know like most people go to Lop Chop for the first sequence.
That's the most common one that I've seen.
Stupid, right? I know, and I'm guilty of it, right? And you'll see, as much as I talk about it, so the chop, you can watch all my videos and go lop, and I'm right.
Every single video is the same.
I'm like, man, I'm lopping and grabbing, even though I'm telling people not to. It's right, because you know it's coming. But outside of that, I don't know what people are doing. And the case in point, this has always been my argument, but again, most people are too stupid to realize this in Wing Chun. The Danny Horgan video. Do you remember when Danny and I Chi Sau'd? So Danny's new in Wing Chun, barely has any Wing Chun knowledge, comes out there and people are like, dude, Danny owns you in Wing Chun. A 6'2" kid with this chaotic, unbalanced energy.
Long reach too, right?
What was I supposed to do? Chi Sao him properly based on what he gave me in? He gave me his energy. It's the same thing. What do you do if somebody has like, they have a partial arm and they want to cheese out? The argument is over and over and over again. I responded to the energy he gave me. Well, he hit you. Yeah, because that was his job. You want to go swimming, you're going to get wet. I don't know what you're
right.
Doing. So
well, I think it's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Cheese out is just misunderstood. It's training like anything else. And to be honest, if you train in a school where, like, if my students know the way that I teach is that non-guarding the rice bowl, which is what I had from some of my Sifus. And if my students over a certain amount of time, they're not hitting me, number one, I'm not teaching them. It means I'm not teaching them. They have to hit me, not because I let them, because they're improving, which shows that, all right, here's where I'm lacking. You need to improve your own skill. You can't let these sons of bitches be better than you. You're the top wolf here. So there's a lot. If you're in a school where you can never get one in a teacher, it's one of two things. Number one, he or she is always backing up. Always backing up. Number two, they're not teaching you properly.
And I find it interesting how a lot of teachers do back up. I've heard, I mean, with my own like research and looking into Wing Chun, it's mostly frowned upon. A lot of teachers say it's frowned upon to move backwards rather than like maybe moving off center.
You're a fighter. Would you ever be outside, wintertime, summertime, in grass, gravel area, and back up when somebody's giving you forward aggression pressure?
No, you move to essentially the instinct is to move to the side, honestly. Like,
you want to cut the angle.
Right.
What we don't do is we don't do the William Chung's blind side, because you keep that distance. We will change the angle by going forward and then changing the angle. So we stay in smothering range. So when somebody advances on us, we actually advance on them, but change the angle a little bit. And that's all done with footwork and understanding pressure. But yeah, that's the number one trick to keep your students. My God, Sifu's so good, is they always back up. They keep backing up, and then there's nothing to hit.
I think it also feeds into like the misconception that a lot of people think of when you take martial arts. You're supposed to become this unhittable force of like, again, the mainstream idea from the movies. You become like a ghost, like you just glance the blow and it's like no one can touch you kind of thing. And I think it really honestly just damages as a whole the idea of martial arts, because a lot of people, they take, I mean, let's say, for example, you have a parent who puts their child in martial arts and they don't like the fact that the kids have to spar and, have to apply the art that they're doing. And it's like, why would you put them in a class to teach them how to defend themselves? And then when it comes to practice how to defend themselves, you take them out of the class because they got punched in the face.
That's like that's why Wing Chun got a bad reputation, because it was marketed for years, and especially once, videos started coming out, VHS videos, that you're untouchable. And then you get these guys who go in, like that first UFC guy who got he got his ass handed to him. Oh, Wing Chun doesn't work. Okay. Trust me, I can tell you some guys out there who work. There's a lot of guys in Wing Chun, not publicly now, just now, who I wouldn't screw with. I wouldn't screw with Sifu Sergio. There's not a chance in hell I would wind up fighting him. Jai Harmon and his Sifu, who are Wang Sheng Lung's lineage, not a chance in hell I would screw with them. I love him to death. Justin Ock from Florida. No way. There's and there's other lists. My Indianapolis crew. Those guys are fighters from all ridiculous. So there's a bunch of people out there who do know what they're doing, but the rest of the people they're still stuck in this mindset of, it's soft energy and you're not doing it right if you're not doing it. Oh my God, stop.
So I guess to a question that I'm thinking of is, in your career as a law enforcement officer, how has your practice of Wing Chun sharpened your skills in the field, specifically when dealing with, aggressive opponents? I mean, a lot of people, one of the common things that a lot of people talk about when it comes to martial arts is, oh, there's laws now. You can't use it because, you'll get arrested, or, the law will be harsher on you because you're a martial artist. And it's like, as a law enforcement professional, how have you been able to utilize Wing Chun in the field in a way to where you can neutralize or control the situation, but not end up paying somebody's medical bill or something like that?
Every single circumstance I've ever used Wing Chun, it's always come down to balance. And what I'll give you an analogy is, when you're ballroom dancing with somebody, someone leads and the other person follows the lead, right?
Right.
So if you look at Dancing with the Stars, those amazing, they're athletes is what they are. And you have somebody the distance between them never changes when you really think about it, when they're moving in an area. One person's leading, So their head stays over their hips, stays over their feet. So
Mhm.
you're getting a signal from, so let's say the guy's going to lead, the girl's getting that signal, and her distance never changes from him unless he's throwing her out, this and that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's the same thing with Wing Chun. Once contact is made, the more confident you are in your skill, your balance will never change, and you'll be inside of somebody's range all the time. The getting hit or getting tied up in a takedown,
Mhm.
if you really know what you're doing, it's really difficult to take somebody down like that. But I can't tell you how many times handcuffing, going to handcuff somebody, control tactics, being in a
Mm.
bar fight, anything at all. Once you put your hand anywhere on somebody, I don't care if it's you grab their wrist, you hand on the shoulder, it's all about you. Your distance from them never changes based on that
Mm.
contact. And if you lose distance, you go right back in. So I always visualize it every damn time somebody's like, oh, how's Wing Chun? What have you applied Wing Chun? It's like a ballroom dance.
Mm.
The enemy is always telling me where to lead him or her.
Right.
It's just always going in on them.
Interesting. So it's
And
like,
as far
would
as
you?
tactics go, if you can't see it, because everyone's like, I didn't see you use a Tansao. If you saw it, it's not Wing Chun.
Yeah.
Proximity, no.
So it's like, so would you say that in your, what are, I guess, so in your application in the field, like what are three, what are three basic concepts from Wing Chun that you've been able to utilize in the field? Like out of all the things that you've learned in your years of learning Wing Chun, what are three main concepts that have been most constant in your application that you would say would be applied?
Closing the gap, which is the number one argument. Most people don't know how to close the gap in Wing Chun, which is why they seek other kicking arts or boxing arts. Number one,
Mm.
I don't care who says what, it's in there. Closing the gap, spinal manipulation. I've
Mm.
always known how to control somebody based on their spine and their center of gravity. And then third one would be, I would say, energy application. Your hands are on them. You know how to transfer energy from your body into them. Like Bruce Lee's punch was just
Right, right.
extension of his energy through his body. It's in the third form, for the love of God. So yeah, those three things right there. It's gap close, distance closing,
Mm-hmm.
combatant mind spine manipulation, where to
Mm-hmm.
control somebody's center of gravity, and then conducting energy into the body based on contact already made.
Interesting. Okay. So then I guess just how can I put it? It seems as like a lot of people tend to feel, and this is just like conversations I've had, like, friends, family, and such. A lot of people tend to look at it as, is there a possibility of, that being called like excessive force? Like, is there a possibility of like when you use these things, like people can, that's not, maybe that's not protocol, or maybe that's not a way that, have you ever gotten in trouble
No,
with,
because I know exactly what the law had me do in there. And honestly, if more cops understood body anatomy, spinal
Mhm.
structure, how to deal with them, so a better trained person, in theory, uses less force. It's the people who do not know how to protect themselves that are going for their guns, that are going for a
Mm.
taser. I 5'7", 200 pounds. My partner is another day go from the city, 5'5", 60-year-old guy. We're the two shortest guys in the department.
Right.
We had the least problems because we knew how to talk to people, and we knew that when we went hands on, you did the job. People, and this is a whole nother conversation. People don't use the proper or enough force when necessary. And there's ways to wind up doing it. I mean, I'm very, very, very big on police use of force. I think training
Mhm.
law enforcement is important. I think that most cops do not get the training they need. And a
Mm.
lot of them are going to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which really bothers me because
You're going to be putting yourself you're trying to put yourself on the ground in a situation where
learn to
people can.
learn to stand up. So
No offense to Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys out there,
no,
but it's like,
it's good for you're getting out of that position. I mean, that's
Mhm.
great. You should be, but but it's teaching them that they're mentally, oh, I need to be on the ground. It's yeah, but no, the more you know about the human anatomy, the
Mhm.
less force you use.
Right.
Simple
Right.
as that.
So it's like there's actually since we're moving into just your work more so, I guess, in a as a police defense tactics instructor. So as you see, like, with MMA and stuff like that, a few artists are really starting to, piecemeal and grab the Wing Chun, like Anderson Silva,
Yeah.
who's been seen using Wing Chun in the ring as far as like, just like the counters and setting up for other shots. Would you say that from both a general practitioner's perspective and as a defense instructor, more people should try to piecemeal like arts like Wing Chun, if not Wing Chun itself,
No, I
for
think
these aspects?
no, if you're going to study Wing Chun, you have to study Wing Chun. The problem is they piecemeal it, and this is the problem I have with like Jeet Kune Do. I don't. What launched me right was the two videos that was the most hated Wing Chun or the most hated video Wing Chun that kind of views, and then I can't believe it's been 11 years, but it's been 10 years. This is the 10th year, and I did one day I wrote an article and people were just taking it the wrong way, and I filmed. I didn't know the date. I filmed this video just like every other video. I just filmed talking out there. I always do everything first take, put up online. I didn't know Bruce Lee's birthday, November 27th, was the day that video out. And there's no way, dude, you released this on purpose on his birthday.
Oh, no.
Like, wait, which part of I don't like Bruce Lee makes you think that I know when the guy's birthday was? But it blows me away today. Still, that video's got like almost a million views. And the title was Why I Don't Like Bruce Lee. And if you look at it, the analytics for the video go at the minute 43 mark. When I say I just don't like Bruce Lee, 95% of the audience stops watching. And it's like a 14-minute video.
Wow.
I talk about his history, his background, all this, but Bruce Lee didn't know the Wing Chun system, right? And there's, as far as I'm concerned, Dan Inosanto was the real nucleus of JKD. And Bruce Lee had such, you're taking the most talented, athletic human being probably to ever live, and then everybody's trying to live up to him. And I'm not trying to bash on Jeet Kune Do, but if it's so, if it's supposed to be so self-expression, why does everybody look like Bruce Lee when they're executing it? Number one. Number two, you got Anderson Silva. Yeah, it was great to see him do a Pak Sao. He did a Tan Sao or Bong Sao. The problem is you're trying to establish these tactics, which are they're post-strike bridged, meaning that you are never put out a Tan Sao. You never put out a Bong Sao. You never put out a Pak Sao. You are forced into those movements after you punch, strike, whatever. So the problem with JKD that I have and Anderson Silva and everything else is, oh my God, he did a Pak Sao and a Tan Sao in MMA because he had distance, he had long arms, he already had self-aware timing. He's not doing the art any favors whatsoever. And again, these other guys, I can't remember the other one who's doing it. They do the wooden dummy. They have no idea, like most people have no idea what the wooden dummy's for. And that's what I'm going to hit it and toughen my hands. They have no, it's a training partner when no one else is there. Oh my God. I'm
actually guilty of saying that myself. So I took that a little bit away there.
God bless America. And the problem is again, the saying is if you see Wing Chun, it's not Wing Chun. You shouldn't be able to see it. And that's the problem. Right. Because and it's not saying it doesn't work, because what if you do have a guy like John Jones's height? Was he like 6'5"? And he does Wing Chun? He could do everything he wants. He could box out from a distance. He could bonks out from a distance. So if we get back into the understanding of what it is, which most people aren't Anderson Silva, they're not Bruce Lee, they're not John Jones. So if you're going to be training this art, you got to understand what this art is for. It's a conversation, right? The form is your alphabet. Right, you learn your ABCs through the form. Right. And then your air drills is your forming words. Or here's a Tan punch and a Pak punch and a Bong. That's me forming words. Then when you do partner drills, you feed me a punch, I Tan, Pak, strike. That's me forming a sentence. When we start doing any type of pressure, Chi Sao, Gor Sao, sparring, that's having a conversation. The problem is people don't know how to have conversations in Wing Chun. They just see that's how it's got to be, and it's doing so much damage to the art, and that's why it's just not going to gain any forward progression.
So would you say, and this is trigger warning to all the Bruce Lee fans out there, I am a fan as well, but just to get this question out, so would you say that Bruce Lee's interpretation, like, since we all know that a lot of his interpretation came from his practice in Wing Chun growing up, all the studies, even though his understanding of Wing Chun was, I guess we can say, abridged, based off of what we can surmise, would you say that his influence still brought a good well, not a good name, but a good representation of the art and its effectiveness in the way that he was able to apply it?
What it did was the people who saw said, okay, I need to go back and learn more, right? And again, there's no way that the Wing Chun or the GKD community is going to respect me for this one. Shannon Lee's his daughter, and good for her. She's made her living off of her father's name, who I bet you she has zero recollection of ever. And again, I'm not insulting her, but here's the problem I have. She's a nucleus and everybody else is out there. What my father meant was this. What my father meant was that. How do you know? Well, he died when you were 3 or 4. So again, and you take that concept and now you got these people. Well, what Bruce meant is this. Now we're theorizing everything. How do we know this? It worked for him in the context of what worked. So and plus, not to mention the fact, there's the stories. Number one, we don't even know if he had a real fight. He was just unbelievably athletic. Number two, we do know that he went back to Wang Shenglong, got his ass kicked, and said, "Could you finish teaching me Wing Chun?" And he said no. So I think he saw some stuff out there. Again, Wing Chun in its totality, when trained right and used right, is everything. But I do think that some people, again, they're guarding the rice bowl and they're not teaching Westerners the right way. I'll use them as the encyclopedia. I think if somebody truly wants to learn everything about this art, I think the greatest walking, living encyclopedia we have right now is Sifu Sergio. I really do. I don't know anybody else out there who's experimented with other lineages. He's been open-minded, and he is like the archive of Wing Chun. And I mean, that's where people have to start looking. You really have to dive into this art, and you have to eat, sleep, and breathe it. And we're circling back to when you piecemeal it. Oh, I'm going to take Wing Chun trapping and do what with it? I'm going to apply it with my boxing and my kickboxing. Do you know how the trapping is incorporated from pre-closing the distance to closing the distance to gaining? Do you know how that's done? Well, because it's not just trapping.
Right.
So that's the problem I have is when you piecemeal arts, then it sends it in the toilet.
And that's something. So sticking in that, we actually have a question from a viewer on Instagram who actually sent this. Give me a second. It's leading actually into this. So when you say that like piecemealing kind of like, I guess, destroys it, like there was actually somebody who was asking, they're looking to, this is from Anthony Gonzalez on Instagram. Shout out to Anthony. They wanted to incorporate, how would they be able to incorporate Wing Chun into arts like bare knuckle boxing, for example, which is gaining, not saying that it hasn't been popular already, but it's like more and more videos and more with the advent of social media, it's been coming up more and more on like more tournaments have been popping up on the internet more so and more so. Like, how would you say somebody can effectively integrate Wing Chun into bare knuckle boxing and boxing in general? Say,
just fight with Wing Chun. Don't use gloves. I don't know what the point is of adding or taking away from Wing Chun to put it into something else. It's there. There's punches in Wing Chun. There's open. I mean, if you can open hands, see me slap somebody in a boxing match. Go ahead. You're still going to get your strikes in from Wing Chun in boxing. So I don't know what they would not need it for. Oh, you said a second part too that you're talking about incorporating. I had a point to that, but I don't remember. But no, I don't know. Oh, boxing. Well, that's how I won my second smoker. The first time I went in smoking, I fought a guy named Craig Harris from Chicago Housing Authorities before they closed down as a cop. Dude, I boxed him. I boxed him. When I threw my jab, I looked and he was over there. I'm like, what? How did you? What? Wow. When I did my boxing combinations, he outboxed me. When I went and and it was hard to do with 18-ounce gloves and headgear. But in the second one, when I did Wing Chun, nobody could flank me. No, the guy, he couldn't, because I was always facing and I was always moving forward with pressure and I wasn't bouncing around and I was keeping balance. So I'm like, all right, why am I doing a boxing? So for me, Wing Chun has always been essential for everything. And I'll tell him, and he'll confirm it. Light Burley, one of the best martial arts teachers on the planet.
We're actually going to have him on the show soon, guys. Make sure you keep watching.
He is one of my favorite human beings. He really is. I've never seen anybody teach with more passion more humility, but at the same time too, the guy could just kill you. He's that good.
I've seen a lot of his stuff, man. It's like when
Yeah.
I started following Light in college. I was like, oh, okay.
He's a dangerous, dangerous man, but he's such a kind man. He's the opposite of me. He's so kind, it's ridiculous. And so we're meeting, and my biggest thing is I wanted to have him out because like I didn't need my students necessarily exposed to 52 blocks, because what do they gain from 52 blocks? What they gained was meeting this man, feeling, and it was so important for me to have him see that I knew what I was talking about, because he does know Wing Chun and he knows just like I do. It's so misrepresented. So he came out. I was so impressed with his skill. It was fantastic. Again, he's one of the most greatest human beings I've ever met. And then when we didn't record this, and I'm sad that we didn't, but we didn't. We cheese out for about 2 minutes, and it was the best thing in the world. 2 minutes to cheese out, and he just stops and he goes, "All right, he knows Wing Chun," and that was it. It's all the compliment I needed. That was it right there. And I'm like, that made me happy, hearing from this man who knows exactly what he's doing, who also is one of the most dangerous boxers out there and a street fighter, said, I know Wing Chun. That put my ego on planet 9, but it also validated for me that because I spent so much time focusing on this art and not piecemealing things together, that's proof in itself that you got to dedicate yourself to it and see it through.
So in getting away from the piecemealing argument, would you say that the best way for somebody to utilize this would be to come from, like, I guess, come from the Wing Chun perspective when looking at other arts? Like, the reason I'm asking, I guess it's not coming out as clear as I'd hoped, but one of the things that I've always been a big proponent of is like just the utilizing the structure, making sure that if you take on another art, figure out how that art can fit into the structure of your foundation. So for me, I practice boxing and Wing Chun primarily as my main thing, mostly because one of the things that I noticed is that I guess for longer range people, one of our things is staying on the outside is what works. So would you say like trying to integrate arts like boxing with Wing Chun would kind of dilute it, or would you say that?
No, I don't, because again, how tall are you?
I'm about 6 feet.
I'm 5'7". I could never play or win at your game. I couldn't. It's like Rocky Balboa versus Drago, except it wouldn't happen like it happened in the movie, right? you can close the distance, you can gain distance, you can get onto the outside of my flank because you have that length and reach. I'm not going to learn your style to learn your style, but if I learn the common denominator in every fight is you. If I'm fighting you, you're 6 feet. Light. I think Light's about 5'10". Jimmy's 5'7" like me. Other guys are 5'9", whatever. If I fight every one of 200 pounds, 150 pounds, 500, I'm the common denominator in everything. The problem with the martial arts community is they focus on matching themselves with their opponent. Why? You always have to focus. You don't adapt outside of what, again, it's a dance. If you're focusing on yourself and you're not placating, if you will, to the enemy, you're always going to wind up improving on your Wing Chun. So it's got to be focused on you.
Understood. Thank you very much. And that's a point that a lot of people in martial arts, I feel that they miss, is that you get so caught up in the tradition of the art and doing the art the way that it's supposed to, you forget that it's supposed to work for you. Like, this move may not have worked for you, doesn't mean that the art doesn't work. It just means that specific movement may not work for your frame.
Take you in your prime and take me in my prime, and all I ever did was wrestle, right? And you're a boxer, and you're probably going to win because there's distance and there's reach, and that we saw Lennox Lewis beat Mike Tyson how? He jabbed him over and over and over and over again. Okay, close that distance now. Now, if we're outside and there's a slope, a hillside that we're on, or if it's icy, and there's a teacher I know all the time who used to say that whenever somebody said, I'm going to teach you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he'd go, okay, and meet me at the junkyard tomorrow morning, at 10 a.m. And we're gonna train by all the broken rusty car parts and class. Teach me, let's see if Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu works here.
Like, so what would you say?
So environment has a lot to do with it.
Like, so what if it was kickboxing, for example? Like, would closing the distance be advised in that point, or?
have circumstances dictate tactics, right?
Mm.
So again, environment. What's the kickboxer look like? Is he 5'7", 220 pounds with a
Right.
pasta gut like me? Are you kidding me? That'd be somebody's dream to do. A lot of people are like, dude, the one thing I don't like about Izzo's Wing Chun is he doesn't kick. Because I don't like to kick, because I'm a shorter guy and it makes no sense for me. I'll kick you if I already have a hold of you. It's a different story.
Right.
So it's so ridiculous, these arguments. It doesn't work. No, you can't make it work. That's all it is.
So I guess a couple more questions and then we'll be able to wrap up. As an art as a whole, speaking as a someone who's been using this art for, again, more than a couple of decades, would you say that Wing Chun as its own art can answer the question that help answer the question that traditional martial arts still have a place in modern day? Like, we can still, it's not like an old thing that no one uses anymore, like the advent of guns hasn't thrown that away. Does Wing Chun help to answer that question?
100%. And remember, most people out there who have guns, they couldn't pull the trigger to use them in the first place. So mindset is everything. I can't pronounce it. What is the Goju style of karate?
Oh, Meibukan Goju.
Dude, would you ever want to get hit by one of those guys who's been training for 20 years?
I have been hit by a Goju-kan.
How are you still alive? Have you ever seen those guys? So to answer your question, remove Wing Chun from the equation. There used to be a guy I worked at with a gym who was my height, maybe 30 pounds lighter. And part of his he used to train at noon all the time, because that's when the top of the energy was he's a great human being. The energy in the earth is good, so I go train. And we'd be listening. We'd be all the way at the front of the gym, and we'd hear what sounded like somebody took like the biggest baseball bat in the world and was smacking the shit out of this heavy bag. And we'd look, it was him punching, because he'd been training that style of karate for 20 something years, knew exactly how his body went and connected. And we'd watch that bag bend in half. So the argument is, does that mean it's a traditional martial art? And if it doesn't work in like MMA or the future of reality? No, it means that if that man connects with you, if he just walks up with you, does
just one time,
right, you're done. The problem is people still think today that the reality of fighting is, are you ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Let's get it on. There's no warning sign.
Right.
So if I'm having an argument with the guy and he comes up and I'm like, oh yeah, and he blasts me in the chest with that, I'm going to die from a heart attack. He's going to stop my heart. So we don't even need Wing Chun to answer that question. It's out there everywhere. Boxing is out there. How many people still throw boxing punches to this day and end people? Taekwondo. I wouldn't want to get hit in the head with somebody who knows how to do a taekwondo kick. So again, in traditional martial arts, you know what the problem is in the West, I use dogs for this example. I had 2 Staffordshire Bull Terriers, which are the nanny dog from England, right? I saw the movie Snatch.
Nanny dogs.
Brad Pitt, they're the best dogs in the world. I saw the movie Snatch with Brad Pitt, and I'm like, oh my God, I want that dog. Dog swallow the chew toy. I got 2 Staffy Bulls, and they're at biggest, they're about 40 pounds, 40 to 45 pounds, right? But in America, when we brought them over here, we had to do everything bigger and better. So they're 60 pounds, 80 pounds, right? That's the problem with Americans. We have and that's teaching now too. I'm teaching Wing Chun backwards, because you can't have a student stand for 3 weeks and learn a centerline punch like that, because they'll go, what am I paying you for? And leave. As Americans, we're so quick to, all right, what next? What next? What next? We want to jump to B before perfecting A. And then we get to B, we're like, all right, give me F. I want to learn F. You got C, D, E. So Americans have made martial arts horrible. I honestly, that's why I love to see. I'd love to see more traditional people, but again, size too, right?
Right.
You do not have a lot of larger Asians, larger Chinese or Japanese fighters. To my knowledge, and I am stereotyping, but you have people who are in shape. They're
some big guys out there though.
Yeah, I've seen some of them, but for the most part, Americans were just bigger, right? So that's going to negate the argument. I will guarantee you, if you've ever seen those like North Korean and South Korean military drills that they do.
Oh, okay, right.
Do you want to fight one of those guys?
Not with that knife work, no.
No. Philippines. You want to fight somebody in Philippines who's in their military? I guarantee their mindset, their training, their bodies are so much better than ours. What do? We practice kickboxing. We practice ground game, submission, and okay, that's what we do now. So it's just honestly, it boils down to who's got better endurance. It's ridiculous.
Well, keeping with that, I wanted to make sure I got to this question. This is another viewer question from Sarah Nichols. Sarah Nichols, 1985. She asks, how can somebody, I'm assuming that somebody maybe not familiar with it, how can somebody get into Wing Chun?
I honestly think that they should go to YouTube and they should look up Sifu Sergio, because you're going to look at lineages, right? And in my opinion, I think that I don't know who really at this day and age who I would like to represent from the Keith Kernsped era. I don't know who I would like from the Wang Shenglong era or Ip Chun. So you have to find out who's right there for you. I'm not a fan of William Chung's lineage at all. I think that every lineage has some people who have put up a YouTube video and I'm an instant Sifu now. And I think that's a big problem. So I think people really, that's the biggest problem, is you really have to find people who's going to teach you well.
And in practicing, I guess this will be my final, my final question. What would you say are 3 good pieces of advice, just in general, as speaking as a martial arts instructor, what are 3 good pieces of advice that young martial artists or people who are trying to start out in the martial arts should take into their practice that will help them build a great foundation to becoming better?
Embrace your ego. It's good to have an ego. There's a time and place for it. Have an ego. You had better be thinking that you are the best in the industry. The problem is like, that's my thing is my mentality is there's not one Wing Chun guy that can stop me on this planet. I don't care if it's Sifu Sergio. I don't care if it's Jai Harmon. I don't care if it's Justin Ock or Sean from Indiana and Clint. My mindset is I'm going to be better than them. They can't stop me. That's a mindset, right? You have to have that. You have to have a big ego, because this is fighting. You can't, Floyd Mayweather Jr., one of my favorite athletes on the planet, the man's mindset made him undefeated. He knew it. You have to think that way. Number 2, I honestly think that you have to burn your boats. If you're going to study an art, study an art. Don't do 6 months doing this one, 6 months doing that one. Go back, find something you love. Again, I found Wing Chun by accident. I wanted Kempo Karate. I probably would have been great at Kempo Karate because there was a lot of similarities in there. But when the second I knew I committed to Wing Chun, I had to go from a front heavy grappler stance to a rear legged stance going, I don't understand, but I burned my boats. I said, no, I'm dedicating this. So I think the 2 things that honestly I would tell people is, humility. There's a lot of people who think you have to be humble in martial arts, but I've never met a martial arts teacher that didn't have massive arrogance in their ability. You just have to. And then you have to burn your boats and dedicate yourself to training.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Sifu Izzo, for being able to just have this conversation. It's wonderful just to be able to hear your philosophy, your understanding, your opinions on the art. And I would honestly love to be able to have you back again so we'd be able to get more into this, because you touched on a lot of points that I really wanted to dissect, but I know we only had a limited time. So we'll be able to save those for another one. Is there anything you just like to be able to say to the viewers overall? Just plug your brand or anything?
Yeah, no, I do appreciate this. We had a great YouTube channel for quite a while, and we exploded. I would never forget the day that I had like 200 subscribers of the channel. I was like, oh my gosh, 200 subscribers is great. We have 110,000 subscribers of the channel. It's got 16 million views. I took 5 years off. And throughout the course of things, I've got to talk to some great people. I had a conversation with Master Wong once, and I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this for anybody who thinks that man doesn't know Wing Chun. Oh, yes, he does. I had an hour-long Skype to Skype conversation with Master Wong. That man knows more than Wing Chun about Wing Chun than most people do. But I've gotten to meet some great people. I just found out the other day that Joseph Simonet, who ran Key Fighting Concepts, he just died. He was one of the pioneers of Silat, Wing Chun, and YouTube. But it is I am thankful. I'm two-sided of this. I love everybody out there, but I hate it because it's a stupid community. I hate the Wing Chun community. Well, if you only did this way, and I see your Pak Sao hand and your turn, shut up. I I think if we commented less, we'd do more, but I get sucked into that trap like everybody else. And
yeah.
What I'm not doing is the last time I got into YouTube or Facebook debates was like 2013. It was 2013. And I remember there was a guy in London I was arguing with online, and I'm arguing with him, and he stops arguing. Because I didn't realize there's this big time difference between two of us.
Right.
And I was waiting 7 hours. I was refreshing, and I lost 7 hours that day just to get him to comment.
Just waiting for him to reply.
Oh my God, I was so stupid. So less of that, but honestly, it's great to be back on the channel. We're having more fun. I don't care. I do. I'll say this one more. Dave Meadows recently died, and Dave Meadows had the right mentality. Do Wing Chun, put it out there, but stay away from everybody. And I actually talked to years ago, like I talked to Doc Savage every now and then. He's a killer. Yeah. I'll add to my list the guys who trained under Dave Meadows. I would think twice about screwing with. But Grant Philbin, I think his name is Grant Philbin, was you can't find him anywhere online. He's Dave Meadows' only certified student. And one day I sent him an email saying, "Hey, can we talk to you? Can we interview you?" And he basically told me to go F myself. He goes, "I will." Wow. He goes, "I will have nothing to do with any of you in Wing Chun." He's like, "You guys don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 this and that." And I went, I respect that. So that's kind of like, it's hard to, I want to step back and be like, I don't give a shit. But at the same point in time too, it's how we all connect more, and it's how we spread this. So people can take what they see, what they like, and they could hate it. I really don't care at this point, but I'm just glad to be back.
And we're happy to have you back, Dom. Thank you very much. For anybody who's looking to, just hear more about, Sifu Izzo's philosophy on Wing Chun, please feel free to visit his YouTube channel, Izzo Wing Chun. I've been popping back ever since I saw you came back on the scene. So I was like, okay, let me see what he's pulled up. It's been a while. So if you want to find some good information, some good perspectives on some of the things that you see in Wing Chun, some of maybe the inconsistencies that you've noticed, please feel free to follow Izzo Wing Chun. And if you are looking for more episodes, to follow if you're looking to follow more episodes of In the Dojo, please make sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends about us. We're still growing, we're still going strong, and we're going to be coming up with a whole lot more content for you guys. We just want to be able to hear from you guys and see maybe if there's something that we haven't done yet that you want, maybe we'll be able to put that on there. But thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Sifu Izzo. And we'll be talking soon. All right.
Thank you.